All right, Risk Profile. We're super glad to sit down with Kim Roxie, who has just won an award from Innovationmap as top founder under 40, right?
Woo! Like that.
I know, I'm excited. And I think what's so interesting about your story is not only did you start out in an unsuspecting place as far as, biography for a tech founder, not only then did you go from that to, starting your own business and really kind of running it in a traditional sense, but then you reinvented yourself yet again to tech founder and recently launched your product line on Ulta. So that's a big deal. I've seen those stores everywhere. And although it looks like I wear a lot of makeup, I don't. So I'm
disappointed now.
I'm just going to say that even I noticed that that's kind of a big deal. So congratulations on all the things that you've been able to do. And we're really excited to step into the story a little bit.
Yeah.
So Risk Profile, the whole theme, the concept, what we really try to get to is, what does it look like when you have this idea? You get a lot of people talk about like this feeling in their gut, feeling in their head, moment of inspiration, and then you put it on a napkin, you raise some money or not, then you get the thing going. So focusing around that first concept, you started out makeup store counter, salesperson, selling makeup, and you saw a need in the market. You had somebody tell you, well, you should do this. Like, what was that first moment of inspiration for you?
First moment of inspiration was graduating from college and not having a job set up. So I had to make myself a job. First instant moment.
Yeah.
And then exploring the idea on making myself a job. And my manager at my store saying to me, you sell more makeup than anybody in here. You should try to do something like this on your own. And looking at where I was from, I was in Atlanta, Georgia at the time going to college, and I'm from Houston. And I said, you know what? We do need a makeup store that I feel celebrated with my complexion, with, like the look that I had that I didn't see in the beauty industry being celebrated. And I said, there's plenty of women. I mean, Houston is the most diverse city in the country. There are plenty of women here who need what I'm talking about, like what I'm saying. And that's when I decided to open up this makeup shop here in Houston.
So dangerous phrase. Oh, you should really ... Most people that hear that probably don't start a business. So what do you think was special to you that said, I'm going to leave this makeup store counter and now start a company?
Because I was kicked out of high school at 16.
Yeah.
And at this time I'm 21 and I don't have anything to lose. They told me I was going to be able to go to college, but I did. So at the end of the day, I take another risk. Like I don't have nothing to lose. That's kind of how I felt.
So that's really interesting because that first step was into opening a brick and mortar store under the LAMIK brand. Here in Houston.
Yeah. I love the way you say it, LAMIK. I love that.
How am I supposed to say it?
No, you can say LAMIK. It's like tomato and tomato. I don't mind.
How
long
do
as you wear it. But I said LAMIK, but it's okay. I love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so you're opening the store LAMIK, and here in Houston, and in the process, I'm assuming you have to source your own cosmetics. Do you kind of white label something like that? How did you get started?
Yeah. So I got started from the perspective of I'm going to do makeup inside of the store. I'm going to do eyebrows inside of the store, and then I'm going to have this makeup. And I met a chemist on this faith trip I took to New York to a cosmetic show. And I started small batching products, and that's how I got started.
So got a little bit of chip on your shoulder, going through, meet somebody that can help you get something going. When you pitched the idea to them, what was their first reaction?
His reaction was, he heard me. I was trying to get a manufacturer, but I didn't have enough money. But I didn't know I didn't have enough money. That's the good part. See, a lot of this is I didn't know.
Yeah.
See, sometimes we look at this from, like when you ask the question, like, to do it and all of that. You can do it when you don't know nothing. Like when you're ignorant, you can do the most. And so when I went to this show in New York, I'm thinking, I'm going to give me a manufacturer. I'm saving up $10,000. That was my goal of saving up. And the people were like, no, we don't make 100 pieces of anything. We make 10,000 pieces you know, like, and I'm like, wait, that's not what I was thinking. And they totally shut me down.
Of course.
And he heard me over there haggling with them, and he gave me his card, and we ended up talking on the phone, and come to find out he had just retired. Right. So kind of green flag up.
Yeah.
That he maybe had a little time.
Yeah.
And then when I met with him and I told him I wanted to create a makeup line that had more ingredients that people could understand.
Sure.
And I referred to it as natural ingredients, but basically what I meant was just being more transparent. Like, what's inside of here? Like, let's have stuff with no parabens. And I was like talking about these things, and he said, "Oh, I've never done that before." He said, "But we can try it." And he said, "I used to work for a brand, and they didn't like to make darker shades because they didn't like the way they looked in the bottle." And he sort of felt like he wanted to vindicate his own self, so he helped me.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. And apparently we got to hang out to unpack it at some point. But so when most people hear, I want you to do X, Y, and Z from somebody that hasn't come from that background, you weren't a chemist, you didn't have some sort of knowledge like, oh, you should do this. You just wanted to because it connected with something inside of you. And the chemist is usually somebody at the role that would say, well, we can't do it. We're doing it this way for a reason. This is why. Let me explain this to you. And that wasn't his reaction?
Right. That wasn't his reaction. He had done it away for so long.
Yeah.
And was open to the journey of, and really that was, when you look for little moments in life to make sure you're on the right track, that was like one of those moments.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay. Because if he wouldn't have said yes, to your point,
yeah,
most people would have just brushed me off.
Yeah. That's cool. What a guy.
Yeah.
So you meet the chemist, you find somebody to make 100 of something, and you take your $10,000 investment and you open a business here in Houston. Where'd you put it?
Sharpstown Mall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a perfect location.
Location.
How was that? Like, what was unique about that experience? What's like the one memory that comes away from that?
Oh man, what comes away from that was, if it wasn't for Hurricane Katrina, that business wouldn't have survived.
Wow. So Hurricane Katrina, we had a huge influx of people to Sharpstown in the west side of Houston from Louisiana. And so you just, that's amazing. And when did you decide, okay, this works. I've done more than 100 units of these kinds of products now, but I need to make it more. I need to take it to the next level. What was that moment for you, and why didn't you just stay comfortable in what you were doing?
Yeah, well, it took a long time for people to even try something new, right? So we went through that for a long time. And when it did start fitting and sticking, and we ended up moving our location to Rural Oaks, and we stayed there for another 10 years inside of that location, I realized that I had like the top most bad, can I say badass?
Whatever.
Okay, cool. Because I'm going to say it. The top most badass women wearing my products. And I'm like, if these are the top women and they're wearing my products, that means that they're good. Like they know the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Right.
They got options.
Yeah. And they choose us and they choose this product. And so that's when I knew it was more. And then let me say this. You cannot believe your own success. Like, you can't believe your own hype. And I think that for me, self-awareness is really important. And, I started to realize that I stopped dreaming. Like, you can work and you can do stuff and you're so used to people saying, yeah, that's really good what you're doing. But you have to know, like, I stopped dreaming. And I remember mentoring other girls and talking to other women and telling them to go after it, go above. And I realized I wasn't doing that anymore. I did it for a certain amount of time.
Sure.
But then I stopped because I felt like I had reached some level of something. And then I was like, yeah, this is not it. And I wanted more. But I had no example of what more looked like.
Again, for the second time. right? Because isn't that the same feeling that you had when you found your chemist and kind of got that started?
Yeah.
So more, did you like see an interview with Elon Musk? Like what did more mean to you at that point? Why tech?
Well, it meant like I'm going back to my manufacturer, and we're doing stuff, and I'm noticing that some of the brands that he's doing, like he's like, oh yeah, this brand just sold for $500 million. I'm like,
that's real money.
Yeah, I'm like, they sold for $500 million. I'm like, you're making their. I mean, I know everything they're making.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to give too much information about that because I just have an inside of a lot of different things right now because of just relationships.
Of course.
And I was like, $500 million. And then I'm over here and I talked to someone else and their product. And it's like, oh, they just sold for $1.2 billion beauty product. And I'm like, 1.2 billion. And they're not even reaching these consumers that are being left out.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is a brand that had to apologize for not having enough shades for all women. Like they just sold for $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
So literally, when I realized you didn't have to become a household name.
Yeah.
You can have a certain sector, reach that market really well, and you would be valuable, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I started to figure that out, I was like, how are they doing that? How's that working? And that's what took me down that rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to become more.
So first off, love that. It also highlights for me why I enjoy doing this because, my experience, I was an entrepreneur. I started a software company, sold it. But the experience that I had and some of the troubles that I went through when I was eating lunch and happened to run into the owner of the restaurant, or when I was, out drinking coffee, I realized that there's such a common thread to the journey of an entrepreneur. I recognize in my own life, like not really understanding the full risk I was taking when I jumped off and not knowing what I didn't know. And also several instances where we ran into individual people that got excited about what we were doing and all of that. So I love, being reminded of that dynamic, but now you're starting down the road of becoming a tech entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Did you shut down the shop immediately? Did you what was the transition like, and when did you know that you didn't have an option?
Yeah. When you do stuff like this, you can't think too much. You just kind of said it, there. So I had to, not be, I hate to say it, but sometimes a typical kind of woman in her 30s just overthinking stuff and just thinking about it over and over. I had to just sort of like make this decision, like, this is what I'm gonna do, right? Yeah. And so I decided to close the store. I wrote a letter to my customers because I had grown a great customer base of supporters, and I didn't want their support to leave. Yeah. And I didn't want them to think I was like leaving. Yeah. But I had to like be transparent and everything with them. And I just remember writing that letter, crying, and they understood. I got so much feedback, and you'll see in the story. I needed them later, but they took that information, I closed the store, and I started to document my journey on social media. Yeah.
So let's just like pull one story that, if you can, really summarizes what that early struggle in getting the tech component started, what that looked like for you.
That looked like me applying to accelerators and end up getting accepted into my first one, Div Inc. in Austin, Texas. Sure. And it looked like me going out there and going to go sleep on an air mattress in my friend's place. And it looked like me going through back through the like struggle grind and forgetting all of anything that I've done before and just thinking towards the next thing. And it looked like when I got done with that, me opening up a crowdfunding raise on I Fund Women, and those same supporters from that story coming back to raise $75,000 for me so we could start this e-commerce business.
Wow. So $10,000 to get a makeup line started. and launch a store, $75,000 to start a tech company. You're doing pretty well. So
I love that.
So you're building, and there's a technical component, and I'm making an assumption here. Okay. that you had to find that talent somewhere
Yeah.
to help you actually achieve that goal. Did it
Kind of
come-
found me.
Yeah.
But once you start to like, again, go out there and do it, it seems like the resources start to come along the way.
Yeah.
So it took me about almost 2 years to make the transition. And I remember getting a call, and this was like right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and saying, you know, we see what you're doing. We're coming up with this augmented reality virtual makeup try on. We'd love to work with you. We hadn't done anything with brows yet because brows is like one of my hero products that I was talking about then. And they said, but if you can help us create it, we can use it. And so I formed a partnership with this company, and we created this virtual makeup try-on through AR, and we put it on our website. And remember, this is the beginning of 2020. And at the same time, we came up with a couple AR-powered quizzes. So I took all of the logic that I had in my head from running that store to make a quiz that would recommend the right products to the customer when they go online. And I remember having all of this ready, thinking to myself, oh, this is amazing. I remember trying to get some people to do it. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I'll get to it, you know.
Yeah.
But they're like, you're not going to open up a store again? You know, like that kind of thing. But then COVID hits. And then it happens.
Yeah.
I turn from a crazy person to a genius.
Yeah.
Yep.
So similar element here to the Katrina experience, you know, having a whole flood of demographic into your first brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
This thing happens again. Like, what is it about you
Tragedy.
that just timing? Can you rub a little bit of that off, like, or tell us a story?
Yeah, you know, I'm a faith person.
Yeah.
So, I just say I'm a faith person because, like, my thing is when it looks like the tragedy and it's all come to like topple you over. Yeah. It'll be the thing that make you rise up, and that's what that thing. So I have to say it was a God thing. Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Favor ain't fair. So you're going, in your experience, just kind of reflecting on this transition, a lot of people, the first question when they meet a tech founder is, you get a degree in computer science.
Yeah.
But in my experience, and it sounds like in your experience, really having a base of expertise, 10, 15, 20 years, doing something and doing it with high quality and with the right kind of people and the right kind of attitude, pushing yourself forward is good. Do you feel like the programming side of technology is something you can take for granted as a founder? How is your relationship with that team now?
Yeah, I think, when you think about tech, you got to teach the tech what to do. Yeah. And I think that's where you come from when you talk about the background and having that understanding. And as far as working with other people that are in tech, like I can speak the language, I can talk, I can go. And I think,
is that from the accelerator experience?
That's from the accelerator's experience. Yeah. And actually just signing myself up for coding classes, not really going to learn how to code, but just like so I can just get in there and just understand the frustrations and what things look like. And when you get excited and it works, what's your reaction? And just so when you work with people, you'll understand what's going on. You don't have to like always know everything, but you can make yourself acclimated. Yeah. And I think that with the tech piece of it is such a bigger person, because also too, if I look at tech founders, I don't know if you draw up an image that looks like me. Yeah. And so that's the other part that I'm tackling too. Sure.
Well, you did wear your blue jeans, so you got that part down.
Yes, I do.
So you run into COVID with a product that really is timed, unbeknownst to you for the market. You're starting to, have people pay attention. When did Ulta come around? What was that like? Yeah. What was negotiating that deal like?
Yeah. So COVID happened. That brought all of that in. But then George Floyd was murdered. Yeah. And then something else happened. And unfortunately, if he, if that didn't happen during COVID, then we would not have all of the things that came out of that, because people would have just been too busy.
Yeah.
And because we were sitting still and we're looking, and some awareness was coming about, it made so corporations and different things like that started to come out on different pledges, different allegiances, all these kind of different things, right? Sure. And that brought a national beauty pitch competition around that I applied for through Black Girl Ventures, and Ulta was a part of it, and Rare Beauty Brands, which is a large national company. And I applied for that. We won first place, and then that was a part of it to go on to the virtual shelves of Ulta.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I think that makes sense to me. What are you dreaming about now? Like, you're not finished. You're still you're still growing and going. Yeah. So what is it?
I've only like scratched the surface. We still, I haven't even seen my company, this LAMIK Beauty Tech Enabled company. I haven't even seen it outside of COVID yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's so much more. Like, we're still in a pandemic. So I haven't seen my company outside of a pandemic yet. So we can only imagine what's still to come. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Well, it's a shame your last name is not Moxie, because that's kind of your like MO. And I'm really good at bad jokes, but they're for my own benefit, and
the bad part about it is I took it as a compliment. That tells you where my confidence lies.
No, but I love all the different times when most people would have said, I've got, well, this is what people are telling me to do, I'm just going to do that. When most people said, well, this is what I'm doing, I'm really good at it, I'm just going to stay here. When most people said, well, I don't know if I really want to go that far, I just want to, do this thing. And the fact that you were willing to reset your circumstance and outlook and expectations so many times, I think is an inspiring story. And out of that realization, when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I got this idea, what's your first thing? Like, what do you tell them? What do you say?
Probably, sometimes I can be very deep. So probably when they tell me that, I'm probably like, if we're on the phone, when I'm listening to their voice, like, I'm just trying to see where they're at. Yeah. Because I know it's so much more to that, right? And I also want to hear them out, though. Yeah. And I also want to, like, validate them in whatever it is, because I know what it's like to kind of like put something out there and trying to see what somebody's going to say. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm probably asking the question, are you willing to lose it all to gain it? Yeah. That's my question.
That's a good one. Well, it's been super exciting for me. I can't wait to see your name in the news as we go, and
with a lot of dollar signs behind it, though.
I'm rooting for it.
That's what we need.
I'm rooting for it. So go get after it, and would love to hear more. Can people reach out to you? How does somebody ask you a question?
Yeah, please reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I check my messages there. And then I'm also on Instagram at @TheKimRoxie. You can send me a message there. Comment on my pictures, please, so my algorithm can go up. And I will respond back to you. Yeah. But yeah, no, you can ask me any question. I'm very open. I'm like facilitating an accelerator right now for some entrepreneurs out of Connecticut. Yeah. And so now I'm learning and leading at the same time. Yeah. And I'll continue to do that. And I just took that label when I was 16 that really hurt me when they called me at risk. Yeah. And I decided just to become risky.
That'll preach. All right, Kim. Well, thanks so much for your time. Risk Profile, really appreciate the opportunity to share the story with you. Please share the podcast and like it. It really helps our algorithms. And if you want to give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Mark at riskprofile.us. Go be someone.